Okay, so back in the airing cupboard again. Another test. I've actually swapped the pump around now. The destratification pump here, this new one, is reversed in direction. So it's now pumping, as the arrow says here, in this direction. In other words, it's pumping from the cold bottom of the hot water cylinder through to the top of the cylinder, which is better in principle. It sounds better because apart from anything else, the pump runs cooler. It's pumping coolish water rather than the 60-degree water from the top of the tank. So that's good and preferable. The downside is, I've had problems in the past, is that when you draw hot water to run a bath, for example, then the hot water actually comes through this tube here, this pipe, into the or down to the taps. But because the pump is connected here, it also drops the pressure here and draws cold water through the pump itself and into the hot water flow, which just dilutes the hot water going to the taps, which is not the end of the world, but it's not ideal. So when I was pumping the other way, oops, pump's just started up. When I was pumping the other way from the hot to the cold, I put a non-return valve in. So this valve was on there, and that just stopped water being drawn from the cold side back into the hot, which is fine when I was drawing water from here. And that's my main reason for deciding to pump hot to cold. But on this test I've had to take that valve out because it would obviously just block the flow from the pump otherwise. So we'll see how it goes today. On the display, yeah, we're at 62% currently. We're up to temperature at the top. It's about 10 o'clock at the moment, so we're still warming up. I changed the display at the top middle from a dial to these digits, and I've completely screwed it up. I think it's supposed to be showing the total minutes that the pump has been running and the number of times it's been turned on. But that was working yesterday, and I changed the code slightly and I've obviously completely messed it up, so that's pretty meaningless at the moment. But yeah, we'll see how the temperatures go. Okay, so this is with the pump running from cold end to hot end, and we've reached saturation point. It's trying to get it down to 60, but it can't. It's got it down to 61 a bit. So arguably that's better than it was with the pump the other way around. But difficult to say because obviously the sun might be shining differently. Anyway, it's got up to 94% full, according to the 60, 60, 60 temperatures at all three levels. But basically 61 at the top, 53 at the bottom, so there's still an 8-degree difference. So I reckon it's pretty much the same as it was with the pump the other way around. Okay, so running this test with the pump swapped around, pumping from cold to hot, doesn't seem to yield any improvement in the overall destratification of the cylinder. So that's not a big help. It is attractive to pump this way though, because it keeps the pump cooler for longer. Right now it's pumping pretty warm water from the bottom of the tank, but for most of the day it'll be pumping relatively cool water and squirting it out into the top of the cylinder. So that's good. The big downside for me is the dilution of the hot water to the taps. So water, when the pump is stationary, water does get drawn back down the pipework to the taps, so you don't get the full temperature water. It's always diluted with cold, potentially very cold. So yeah, I don't like that. Okay, so the conclusion from running the pump the other way around, pumping from cold to hot, is I think that I'm going to swap it back again. I think there's basically little difference, as far as I can tell, between one and the other. I mean, it is nice to have the pump running cooler for longer, but the dilution of the hot water is not a good thing as the water flows back through the pump. So I think I'm going to swap it back to the way it was, put the check valve back in and wind down the 100% level set point in my code so that the whole system shuts down earlier with about 8.4 kilowatt hours of energy in the tank, and run it like that. So that's the way it was running for the last 4 years. So I think that'll be fine. The bigger pump is good, but having it pumping cold to hot doesn't seem to be an effective way of doing it from my perspective. Okay, there we go. I'm back to where I was before, pumping from hot to cold. So it's drawing it in from this hot feed pipe to the taps, and I've put the non-return valve back in there as well. I did lighten that non-return valve deliberately, so I actually took the spring out and dismantled the whole thing and softened the spring in effect, so it doesn't, well, the pump doesn't have to overcome so much force, but it still stops cold water being dragged into the hot flow when you run a bath, for example. So yeah, pump sat there quite happily. It's on a neoprene foam pad to try and stop the vibration a bit, although it's very quiet anyway. And the outlet goes to the cold feed to the cylinder. So yeah, back to normal. Thanks for watching.